Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload is going to be a video about the long range, and as you know, we still have an ongoing giant winter storm across the Midwest upper plains, and this will be bringing a lot of chilly conditions. I mean, if I were to show you the map right now of the National Weather Service, it is just absolutely overflowing with freeze watches, frost advisories, and this may be a sign of what's to come. I mean, I remember 2013 very clearly. It was one of the coldest years, and we also had these, these record-breaking freeze watches, all across the country, way above average. And if you look at my frost forecast, I did who will see the first frost, or when to expect your first frost this year. I expected much of the Midwest to see it above schedule or ahead of schedule. And southern Missouri, northern Arkansas, it's way ahead of schedule for them to be seeing their first frosts and freezes this time of the year. But that's what it is. And at this point, it seems like a good portion of the Midwest is under freeze watches, and they will be seeing frost. I mean, let's just go to the Quad Cities, click on the most random location we can. I just clicked a little bit north of Clinton. So, you can see today, chance of rain and snow possibly, and look at the nighttime low, 30, 36, 34. That's the end to all your tomatoes, all your pumpkins, all your squashes. Even if you live in Chicago, unless you live in the actual city, like downtown, you may get spared. But even if you live in northwestern Cook County, you most likely will see frosts and freezes. So this, 2013 was very similar. I remember we got very early snow. We had this was the early snowstorm, but not the earliest. 2013, 2014, and 2013 we had Winter Storm Atlas that dropped around I think 20 inches, similar to this storm, and that was October 4th. This time, this is October 11th, but it's across a bigger area, and 2013 was an insane year. It dropped them up to 90 inches of snow across many locations in the Midwest. It was just plain out so cold. We didn't have like a polar vortex, but we had many cold outbreaks that were similar to a polar vortex. And then 2014, 2015, the year after that, was very similar. We had a great early start, and then of course it continued throughout the winter. So, I'm not going to prove anything scientifically here. I don't have analogs. I could pull up the 2013 analogs, but I just want to show you that based on my observations, this is what usually is, a omen of the future. And if we were to look at this, the long range, they're not showing a ridiculously cold October, but they're not showing a really warm October either. So, I don't think we'll see any big snowstorms like this repeating in the near future of this magnitude, that is, but definitely some snow across the Midwest is possible. So notice this storm kind of disintegrates, but it leaves a big chilly air mass behind it. Also notice how there's a lot of nor'easter activity going around the Northeast. I will be uploading a video probably about that today later on, and talking about this may be a sign to come, and I'll actually have a lot of evidence to back that up. If you were to look at this is the newest model, and you can see possible. So it basically lets up the chill around Monday, Tuesday, but then another one comes through. You could see some 540 lines getting as far south as Ohio and northern Indiana. So maybe not as significant, but definitely still there, and possibly another big storm for the Northeast. Very heavy rain. So another nor'easter possibly, and then we see a little bit of a break, but we see this giant storm really starting to erupt, and this would be towards basically a week from today, and the models have been indicating some signs of this. And basically what this would do is, you could see, send out an area of precip across northern Illinois, a good portion of the Midwest, central Midwest, and then a big storm behind that. I mean, this could produce, record-breaking rain. And notice the cold behind it. Look at that. That's some pretty chilly air. Also setting up a nice front, which could, again, lead to flooding. So the pattern is at least looking active, maybe not too cold, but at the very minimum active. And if you look at the other model run, since this one didn't, the newest one hasn't finished processing, the old one also shows a storm of similar magnitude, very strong, maybe a little bit different placement, but look, it shows a lot of snow, or some pretty heavy snow across South Dakota, North Dakota. This Rapid City would get absolutely bombed by this one if this came true, but here you can see it would bring cold nevertheless behind it. So October doesn't seem to be as cold, or it may be. I mean, the signs right now are showing pretty chilly air for October. It's not showing record-breaking, any Arctic blasts really, unless that one storm, comes to fruition and organizes itself in a way that it could bring down the air, and those winds aloft can actually help pull that air down. And we'll have to see, since it's still 200 hours out. We may, that's kind of like our next storm we have to track. But you can see that this brings chillier air. We get a little bit of warming across Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, across much of the central U.S. and southern U.S. especially. Notice northeast and Midwest still chilly, and then we see another blast of air bringing temperatures 4 to 6 degrees below, and this is in Celsius, so very, very chilly air. And then we see again some brief warm-ups. This is out ahead of actually that big storm. You can see that this is where the storm would be occurring if I were to go to the MSLP and precip. You could see, where is this? There we go. You can see that this is where the storm would be occurring. The other model run was having it a little bit earlier, but then you can see this is where it really comes to fruition, this big storm. Look at those really warm temperatures. That is 12 to 16 degrees above Celsius, so probably 20 to 30 degrees above average in Fahrenheit. And look, another blast of chillier air behind it, and then possibly another one. So October seems to end on a chilly note, maybe not a record-breaking chilly note, but definitely a chilly note. Doesn't seem like a big warm-up is on its way, at least from the GEFS and the GFS ensembles. This is the GEFS ensembles, which is a bunch of GFS-like models combined. You can see showing brief warm-ups, but mainly dominated by cooldowns. You can see there's another one coming in the long range. So this could, this definitely could be a sign of what's to come. Last year we saw October being pretty chilly. November was just downright brutal in terms of cold temperatures, and then December was a let up, and January, February was just, it was just ridiculous, the cold we had. And I think that may be a repeat of last year, or 2013, 2014. Let's look at the European. That's many people's favorite model. Let's look at the 500 millibar height anomaly. Basically tells us where the troughs and ridges form. You can see this is the big storm that's occurring right now. Very chilly temperatures. We see that second dive round Tuesday, Wednesday, kind of like right there, centered across the Midwest. A little bit of warming in the Midwest, or in the West, and then we see that move into the Midwest and into the East, but then followed by another big cool down. Possibly that the European doesn't have it as amplified as the GFS models, but still there you could see across the West, and a pretty big ridge actually would be happening across the Northeast. That's still all you have to be worked out, but this is what I mean. It's not looking to be extremely cold, or not record breaking October cold, but definitely I think it will end on a chilly note with big heat waves across a giant area of the country. Not really likely. Definitely some areas will still be above average for October. And they have been, like the southeast was pretty warm, and much of the east was warm for the first couple of days of October, but now that has changed, especially after this big cold front. So that is definitely, definitely definitely a good sign. Many people would want that chillier. Maybe not frost and then freezes in the southeast, but definitely some 40s and 50s. In some areas in Texas will be getting 30 to 40 degrees temperature changes in Fahrenheit, which is just ridiculous. Let's look at, I wanted to show you the National Weather Service. You can see that this is just, way ahead of schedule, especially the further south you go. Oklahoma, you can see they have, I think those are freeze watches. Yeah, you can see 33, 30, 36 degrees, so very, very chilly. And as far as I'm concerned, that is way above schedule, but way way too soon. Yeah, I mean, look, right after that, 33, but then look, they're back into the 80s and 70s. So based on looking at their temperatures, this may seem like if it's way above average. Let's see what they have to say for the freeze watches. I don't know if they'll mention anything of you know, ahead of schedule. No, they just say basically to protect your plants, protect your tender crops if you really want to save them. I'll notice also, though, blizzard warnings, they have been expanded across much of the North Dakota area. Devil's Lake is just getting like that central, getting like the worst of this, 10 to 16 inches. I mean, come on, that is ridiculous for any time of the year, let alone October. And I think we may continue seeing these type of storms, through the winter, where it's just these huge amounts of snow that are unprecedented. Maybe not too widespread, but once they do, they could be like absolutely clobbered by that. This winter looks pretty darn chilly for most of the U.S. I want to show you the GEFS ensembles one more time. Let's look at the 5-day 2-meter temperature. So this is basically like an average of like 1 through 5, 2 through 6, 3 to 7. You can see the different days, and you can see day 1 through 5 below average for much of the country. 2 through 6 similar, 3 to 7 very similar, just a little bit letting up, kind of, especially towards the southwest. But then we kind of get a resurgence of a chillier air, and it doesn't really want to let go, which we have been seeing a trend. So definitely, this is what I was expecting. September, I was thinking that maybe this would start occurring in September. That's why my forecast was pretty far off. I admit when I'm off, and I admit when I'm not off. And I have to say that forecast for September was an absolute blow-off this year. I mean, it was a complete failure. I thought it was going to be at least the second half of the month will start getting a little bit cooler, but it didn't. It was like Hades across much of the U.S., and it was like hell in Hades, I swear. It was very warm. There was 90s, 100s, and now October comes, and we're looking at very chilly temperatures. So that is a good sign of relief. Thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking the video. Consider subscribing to this channel. And I'll catch you all guys on the next episode. See ya. Bye.